Have you ever felt like your past was the only thing people could see? Like, no matter how much you've grown, some part of you is still stuck in the worst thing you ever did or the worst thing that ever happened to you? Have you ever wanted a second chance so badly, but weren't sure if you even deserved one? It's safe to say very few people have lived that reality more publicly or more painfully than Lindsay Lohan. She rose fast, booked The Parent Trap at 10, earned $1.5 million a film by 16, and led hit after hit. Freaky Friday, Mean Girls, Herbie Fully Loaded. She had that rare spark, talented, beautiful, funny, and real, and we loved her for it. But we also watched her fall in the harshest way imaginable. Addiction, arrests, mugshots, rehab, family chaos, tabloid ridicule, and ruthless interviews. Her life became a spectacle. It was raw, public, and relentless. And still, she never gave up, even when it looked like the world had. Years passed. She stepped away, disappeared from the spotlight, worked on herself, and started over quietly. Now she's back. Not with a vengeance, but with peace. She's radiant, calm, and entirely transformed. And back to do what she's always done best: act. This is the Lindsay Lohan Blueprint, a guide for what it really looks like to hit rock bottom, do the work, heal in private, and return stronger than ever. A story for anyone who's ever looked in the mirror and wondered if it's too late to change.
I did do everything that I was told to do and did the best I could to, balance jobs and showing up. I'm sorry.
The judge sentenced her to 90 days in jail.
Do you understand and accept the terms and conditions of your probation?
Before Lindsay Lohan became the face of a tabloid storm, she was America's sweetheart, a child star with limitless potential, the charming red-headed girl next door with real acting chops. She wasn't just likable, she was loved. By her late teens, she was one of the most sought-after actresses of the 2000s. She was earning millions per movie, carrying major studios on her back, and racking up sponsorships. The industry couldn't get enough of her. But behind the scenes, the pressure was mounting. She was overbooked, overworked, and barely out of childhood, living alone in LA while her parents' ugly divorce played out for all to see. And slowly, the image of the girl next door began to slip. Headlines shifted. She went from it girl to party girl. Rumors of addiction, rehab stints, car accidents, shopping sprees, and rivalries. Her name became shorthand for wasted potential as she became known more for her messy life and less for her talent and professionalism. She was no longer the girl from The Parent Trap. She was a walking headline, a cautionary tale. And if you've ever felt yourself become less in people's eyes, less than your potential, you know how brutal that fall can be. And maybe that's what makes her story so powerful. She had no place to hide. But even as her world unraveled in real time, Lindsay remained surprisingly self-aware. She did interview after interview, answering invasive questions with bravery and clarity. It takes strength to face your consequences, but it takes a different kind of strength to do it while the world is watching, and still be transparent, still be honest, and still find a way to laugh at yourself. When your past haunts you, whether it's a messy breakup, a social media scandal, or just disappointment in yourself, the first step isn't to run from it, it's to own it, because that's how healing starts. And yes, this step will often bring embarrassment, shame, and regret. You might feel like you're drowning in what you've done or who you used to be. But those feelings aren't forever. They're just part of the process. Painful, but purposeful. Because this is where you build character. This is the part where you trade defensiveness for humility, where you stop centering your own pain and begin to understand how your actions might have affected others. Facing the fallout is non-negotiable. It's not easy, but it's essential. Lindsay couldn't control the narrative, But she didn't disappear in shame. She kept showing up again and again. And when you do that, when you stop hiding, stop avoiding, and start being honest with yourself, you start to earn back people's respect and lay the foundation for real change. This step matters because it shifts you from a self-focused state to one of self-awareness. It teaches you how to take accountability, and it reminds you that the only way past something is straight through it. Because the sooner you stop running from the mess, the sooner you can start cleaning it up.
My mom and my sister's face in that courtroom and my dad was just heartbreaking. It was horrible. Well, definitely lots of shame, tons of guilt. Embarrassment, yeah. I don't think the embarrassment was, as prominent as the shame and the guilt. I think that definitely played a bigger role.
After the fallout, there's usually a fork in the road. Hide or try to make it right. Lindsay chose the harder option. She showed up to court. She went to rehab. She even opened up her life to a documentary series that aired some of her most vulnerable moments. None of it was clean or glamorous. It was raw and uncomfortable. At one point, Lindsay was even ordered to work at a morgue as part of her court-mandated service, a stint she later described as traumatic. But she showed up anyway, because that's what accountability often looks like. Not something curated or perfectly worded, just consistent effort even when it's clumsy. It's about showing the people you've hurt and yourself that you're trying, that you mean it, and that you're willing to put in the work to become someone new, even if your past is still echoing behind you. True change, the kind that actually sticks, is never just about public apologies or image rehab. It's an inside job first. Lindsay may have shown up publicly to take responsibility, but the real shift wasn't happening in the headlines. It was happening behind the scenes, quietly, painfully, and personally. Real transformation starts when you stop trying to convince others you've changed and focus on actually becoming someone new. For anyone watching who's hurt others, disappointed themselves, or fallen short in ways that feel impossible to repair, this is the step where you keep going anyway. You apologize, you take ownership, you try, even if you're still healing, learning, and figuring it out. That's how you start to rebuild trust, not with a superficial rebrand, but with real work, one messy, meaningful step at a time. And if you're struggling to believe you'll ever get another chance, let Lindsay's story remind you, it's never too late. She had been in and out of rehab for years. Headlines called her a lost cause, but there was always this quiet hope behind the noise. The world kept watching, kept waiting, and rooting for her. Why? Because of who she had proven herself to be. An incredibly talented young woman with the range, the charm, and the presence to carry a generation of films. A star with something real to offer. That same grace, those second, third, and fourth chances, came because she had shown the world her worth before. And whether you realize it or not, you've done the same. You have something in you that people have seen and believe in. Maybe you haven't fully tapped into it yet. Maybe you've lost your way. But the people who love you, they're rooting for you. Just like the world never fully gave up on Lindsay, the people who believe in you are still there, waiting for the moment when the changes you're trying to make finally stick. When you finally say, I can't live like this anymore. When you delete the number, pour the bottle down the sink, turn down the party invite. Not because you're healed yet, but because you're finally ready to fight for who you want to become. And even if no one claps for you, even if no one sees the effort, you keep going, because that's what real change demands.
Who do you think you've disappointed the most in your life?
Myself. At the end of the day, it's inside myself. It's not, people, places, and things play a big part of it, but No, that's not, ultimately, it's gotta be me that's gonna change or not change, or be willing to accept and recognize.
There's a reason we didn't hear much from Lindsay Lohan for years. She chose silence. After living so loudly in the public eye, she disappeared. And while it may have looked like she vanished, what she really did was retreat, like a seed pushed deep into soil. Because if step 2 is about making peace with the people you've hurt or disappointed, step 3 is about making peace with yourself. And that kind of peace doesn't happen in the spotlight. It requires solitude and stillness. True transformation is like a metamorphosis. It starts in darkness, in quiet. Think of the caterpillar. It doesn't turn into a butterfly in the open. It goes inward and cocoons. It breaks down before it rebuilds. Lindsay's cocoon was her time out of the spotlight. Living overseas, stepping out of the LA club scene, falling in love, becoming a wife, and eventually a mother. The headlines stopped, but life kept unfolding, this time on her terms. In her words, I was like, what if I never fall in love? What if this never happens? And it took me just taking time for me for all those doors to open and the yeses to come, the things I wanted to say yes to. That time in isolation, the work in the dark, is essential, not just to escape the criticism, but to disconnect from the validation too. Because here's the thing, the praise, the relief, the sense that you're finally being seen as a changed person can feel like a high. Like maybe you've made it through and you're ready to jump back into life. But real healing needs more than just a few good weeks. Some people fear stepping back because they think it means giving up or being left behind. But retreating isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And sometimes stepping back is the most powerful move you can make. Growth often requires solitude, and in this intentional separation, you have time to reset your nervous system, to unlearn survival habits and reactive patterns. You have time to hear your own voice again, without all the noise. And that's where real self-trust is born. When you show up for yourself without an audience. Reinvention isn't about changing everything or pretending your past didn't happen. It's about integrating what you've been through, then choosing who you want to be now. And when you emerge from that kind of transformation, you don't come back looking for redemption. You come back new.
What's been the greatest lesson you've learned in life? Ooh. Don't be afraid to say no, slow down, and live with gratitude. Take nothing for granted.
When Lindsay Lohan stepped back into the spotlight, it wasn't with an apology tour or a tell-all interview. It was with a smile, a glow, a presence that felt calm, centered, and light. She didn't need to explain who she had become. It simply showed. And in a Bustle interview, she shared how she now carefully curates what she's exposed to, choosing people, places, and things that uplift. She also noted, quote, "My story isn't finished yet, so I'm not in a rush to share my side of it." Even more striking, she's back, graciously engaging with the same media that once tore her apart. After years of ruthless headlines, mugshots, and merciless questioning, Lindsay returned, not with an axe to grind, but with an olive branch. It takes serious courage, not just to show up, but to show up without bitterness. She seems to recognize her part in the chaos and has made her peace with it. Now, unburdened by guilt or shame, she steps forward with a pure heart, ready to return to what she does best. Act. And act she will. Freakier Friday, a sequel to Freaky Friday, reunites her with Jamie Lee Curtis and hits theaters on August 8th. Proof that her comeback is not just personal, but professional too. And maybe that's the most inspiring part of her story. Like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon, she didn't just return. She revealed a whole new self.
I don't like when people always bring up and rehash the past. You know,
Yeah.
this is actually quite a long time ago if you think about it now. And I'd rather just stay focused on what I want to do next. And whenever people bring up the past things that I've experienced and gone through, like jail, working at the morgue, which is actually really traumatizing stuff. I learned my lessons. But then it distracts from actually maybe meeting with people to do back roll, maybe doing a Mean Girls 2. It really distracts people. And then they only think about the negative. And I don't really think that's a way to move forward in life.
Lindsay Lohan's story isn't just a celebrity redemption arc. It's a masterclass in what healing, grace, and growth actually look like. She faced the fallout. She took accountability. She disappeared to do the hard, unseen work. And she returned, in control, grounded, and grateful. And when she did, the response was overwhelming. People aren't just watching her comeback, they're celebrating it. Because somewhere along the way, Lindsay stopped being a punchline and became something else entirely. A reminder that it's never too late to grow, to get better, and to be met with grace. Most of us won't have our worst moments splashed across tabloids, but we all know what it feels like to carry the weight of regret, shame, or versions of ourselves we'd rather leave behind. Lindsay's journey reminds us that we're allowed to outgrow who we used to be, that healing isn't about erasing the past. It's simply about choosing not to live there anymore. Maybe you've been in survival mode for so long, you've forgotten what peace feels like. Maybe part of you still believes you deserve to carry the guilt, the fallout, and the labels. But hear this. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to begin again. Let Lindsay's story reassure you. It's not too late to turn the page. And it doesn't have to be the end of the story. You can step back and do the work. And when you're ready, you can come back better too. Just like Lindsay.